Chit Chat Kit Kats. Well, I did go today. We had a very good time over at Voices from the Swamp. Now, I did ask her, somebody asked me, why does she have that name? Well, she lives right by one of the biggest swamp areas. So she lives by the Louisiana bayous, Cajun countries, which are the swamps. So that makes sense. Voices from the Swamp. She lives by the big bayou area. So that was interesting to find out why she has that title. Makes sense, doesn't it? Anyway, so we had a good time there, had some good questions. Got away from some of the political. It was more spiritual questions, which I really tend to like. Oh, yeah. Now, I've had a few questions. People are asking me to do reads on the Oregon thing. We've got 3 people running, 3 women. I have no idea who's running. I have no names, nothing. Then I've had somebody here ask me about every single race here in New Mexico. You know, you predict all the races here in New Mexico. So that's, again, you know, a little difficult to do. They want you to predict every race. And then I've had another question about somebody that a lot of Muji's followers, ex-followers are following, and what about that person? Well, I don't like to do those kind of reads anymore because I am a guru. I have been a guru since 1999. For those that don't know. Oh my goodness. Yes, I've been a guru since 1999 when my path completed. So, you know, they want to ask about these ones that are supposedly in realization. And, you know, so I don't like to read on those. I don't like to comment on those because my own journey. And yeah, it's just, you know, if you read on them, they think that you're dishing them or whatever because you're a guru, because you're a spiritual teacher. So anyway, I don't care to read on other gurus, other teachers. Now, I will say I'm not real big on satsang sellers because you can't get to realization by sitting there listening to somebody talk. It's not going to happen. You know, you have to actually make the journey, and it takes a lot of introspection. It takes a lot of staying in the moment, introspection, and reflection, and questioning at a very, very deep level. Okay, that's like ones like Krishnamurti. You know, nobody ever got anywhere with him because it was all intellectual things. And most of the satsang sellers, you hear them say, there's nothing to get, there's nowhere to go, you're already that. And, you know, this rhetoric of drama. And then we have the Advaita police out there that, you know, again, another hoopla of craziness. So anyway, that's why I don't care to read on other spiritual teachers any longer because I get a lot of flack for that. You know, if you're one that has entered realization and one is living it, it's your reality, you can pretty quickly spot those that are pretending to be there. Maybe they think they're there, they've had a heart opening, and when you have that first heart opening, everything feels very expanded. And there's a huge difference between Advaita and this first heart opening where you feel this major expansion and connection to everything. Well, when everything dismantles and one is in that space where that's all there is that divine is, it has more reality than anything in this plane of existence, and it just blows everything out. That's why it's saying being blown out, because that's what happens. All your past drama and trauma is blown out as if it never existed. One goes into a different consciousness. Then you have ones like, and I've gotten flack for this before, Eckhart Tolle. Now, I've seen him when I was in Rishikesh, and he holds it with effort, okay? So he's not fully in realization. He holds it with effort. What do I mean by that? He has said, and I've heard it with my own ears there, that he doesn't interact with people when he's not giving satsang. So when he's there talking about it, that sets up an energy. And when you're in there, what happens? You get a lot of people in there together, then it heightens the feeling of that energy. And so that's what happens with some of these things. He says when he's not there, he doesn't talk with many people because then he's putting on the hat. So what he means by that is he's going into duality, the consciousness of duality. So he's trying to hold on to non-duality with effort. Okay? Now what happens if one is genuinely in full realization? The mind stills. There's nothing to hold. Okay? It's just your conscious years, your awareness at all times. Okay? One doesn't go back into this feeling of being a constricted persona, okay, that's acting out with this attachment to the form, okay? It's a different consciousness that takes place, and it's effortless. You're in what's called Turiyatita. That means the mind is stilled. Doesn't mean you're trying to hold on to the moment and being in this moment with effort. And so that presents a whole different thing with consciousness as well. I have a very difficult time now trying to put things into a linear context, okay? And when something is past, it's as if basically it never happened. Okay, so people will ask me, are you excited about this or excited about... Well, you don't have any anticipation when you're fully in the moment, okay? And it's just your basic living reality now. It's not something you have to try to maintain or, lock into. It's your natural state at that point. And so there is no anticipation of things. And the minute something is finished, it's as if it never happened. Okay? So it's a different cognition or living reality that one has at that time. And you don't have to go around continuing trying to talk about it. What good does it do to talk from the point of Advaita, your reality of Advaita, when you're dealing with people in duality, in Dvaita mind, okay? They're not going to get it, not going to understand it, okay? Makes one maybe sound more elevated or something, but you're trying to, what I found, after realization, of course you want to, you think everyone's saying they want enlightenment. But what you find as a spiritual teacher is they're playing games with it because they don't really want enlightenment when they find out that it means the dismantling of ego. Okay? When it means that, implosion that happens, like the tower, it's an implosion, okay, that takes place. So when they find out that, That's not really what they want. Really what they want is more of the tarot, the magician. They want to have control. They want to have power. They want to have, and they think that getting to realization means you're going to have more power, more control. Okay? Well, if you're seeking the power and control, that is a stumbling block along the way, because that's not what happens. When one gets to realization, one finds out, when you start the path, you just want to get out of suffering. If you've had a lot of trauma, you want to get out of suffering, and you'll do anything. You want to be away from this plane of existence. When I started, that's where I wanted to get off this plane of existence. I didn't want to be here. It was suffering, and I was willing to go through anything to get out of that suffering. Okay? So that's a very difficult journey, because you have to confront all of those traumas, those fears and things, to go through that, to cut those bondages. Okay? Now, when you get to the end point, you find out, you laugh, because you find out it's always been here. You think you're away from God, and you're traipsing across the planet to find God, and you couldn't have got away from God if you tried, because without God, you would have no life. Okay, so it's one of those conundrums that happens. So you laugh. It's like the great cosmic joke. Okay, you couldn't have gotten away from it if you tried. Okay, the way you distance yourself is by creating ego. Okay, an attachment to body and form, which is transient, and one is not that anyway. This is a vehicle that you use for this plane of existence, so you find that out. Okay, but you are eternal. Okay, and there's just a transmutation that happens when one leaves the form. Okay, so all of this stuff happens, and so at the end you laugh and you come out of it, and you go into what's known as the play of God, the Leela, at that point. Because it wasn't being here that was the problem, it was the mind spin that was attached to the happenings. And everything that happened, you find out, happened only to the form, okay, and that mentation surrounding it, okay. But in the end, that which is the primary divine is, that essence of being that one is, never gets touched by any of this, okay? So it's the illusion. But all of this has to be, you can't rationalize your way there. This has to be something that is directly, and I hate to use the word experience, because to have experience, it happens to a persona, okay? So again, it's a bit complicated to try to explain it. And what can happen is somebody can go into that bit of dismantling. They go into a nirvikalpa samadhi, okay? But when they come back, they want to try to rationalize it and make the pieces fit, and then they go back into, again, rerouting, called rerouting, into ego again. Now, sometimes the most dangerous point is if one has that experience, okay, this dismantling begins to take place, they're in the expansion, then they come back and reroute. Then what can happen, they can wrap it around ego and become even more ego-centered. Okay, that the ego is God, the ego is, and that's a very dangerous thing to take place. In the case here was very, very fortunate, because when the dismantling took place, got a hold of my guru at the time, and he asked me about it, and I told him what was going on, and he goes, "Oh, that's the Ashtavakra Gita, that's the Vivek Chudamani." I had no idea what they were, Advaita texts. Okay, I hadn't studied Advaita, I hadn't sat with any Advaita teachers, was not looking for it, had no idea. But at that point he said that, and I got those, texts and read them and said, yes, 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 yes. It wasn't trying to understand it. It was yes because it was the reality here. So that helped to ground things so that I didn't try to rationalize and didn't try to logically make sense of it and to put it in a confined and defined box, which aided here in not rerouting. Okay, but it took a good 5-10 years to again ground and be able to because when it comes out at first, one doesn't want small talk. One doesn't want to speak really with anyone at a time for quite some time. You could pass off the planet and not care. You know, you look at a leaf blowing and it's the most amazing thing in the world for quite a number of years. So it takes a while to, again, ground and then be able to speak. When it came out, I said, this one wasn't able to say I because the ego attachment was not there. And to say I felt like a constriction, like a, it wasn't that you're trying to sound evoluted or something. It's your reality. And so you have to relearn conventional speak again. Let's say it that way, conventional talk. And really trying to do chit-chat things was painful because it's no longer your reality. It doesn't make sense any longer at that point. So yeah, it's a journey. And but like I said, for me, I was very, very fortunate here to have those texts and just go, yes, 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 yes. It was totally, no question about it. It was the reality. And so that helped here to ground and not go back into mind spin, okay, of the mind of Advaita, trying to rationalize, trying to wrap it around and, because when everything dismantles at first, it can feel like no mooring. And it's like, it's very, the first thing is you've been looking for this for lifetimes, seeking for realization. So when it takes place, it's like losing your job all of a sudden that you worked out your whole life. Okay, now it's now what? Now what? What's going to happen? What's there, what's there to do? It's a shock. It's a shock. It's not a feeling of attainment or anything like that. It's because you go from seeking something to winding up being the big zero. So you just laugh. It's a kind of a conundrum, and it's a trying to explain it to somebody is difficult. So you wind up in the end, when you come out, you want to try to bring everyone to realization, but you find out 99.9% of the people that say they want realization don't want it. They just want more control of their lives. Okay? So when you find this out, you just give what you can give, and everybody has to walk their own journey. Anyway, there are no magic wands no magic pills that you can give. Everyone has to make the journey themselves. So you can give the things, this kind of works and this doesn't work. These are stumbling blocks, You just give the map as well as you can for others making the journey. But you can't do it for someone, okay? They have to make the journey themselves. And it's the longest journey to right where you're at, okay? But like I said, you go from being a suffering person in depression and PTSD and all of these other things that you had, to be one in Leela, in the dance of life, in the flow of life. Okay? And everything is just accepted as it is. And you know that reality is eternal in nature, so you don't get caught up in these things that are changing all the time, because you know at the center of it, when you absolutely know at the center of it is the divine, is eternal, unchanging, unblemished by any of the play that happens in this world, then you're in a different area of understanding and the way that you view things, the way things are cognized and seen. It's seen from the bigger picture rather than being stuck in the trenches and not being able to see above it. Okay, you have a different view when you're in a trench than if you're a bird and you're seeing above it and can see the whole thing. So anyway, I didn't know I was going off on this bender today. Sometimes that happens. So yeah, it's just one goes into a different consciousness, okay? And it doesn't mean that you no longer feel pain or emotions. Sometimes you feel emotions even more so because it's pure. It's not cut with something else. But again, emotions, even anger or something like that comes up, it's surface, that's it. In the depths, there is a stillness that's always there. And one goes from these emotions that one can have at anger with people, hatred, jealousy, those types of things don't exist. There is no way that you can feel that any longer. It just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And then you know, at that point, again, you can't understand how people get so caught in that. Okay? So that goes away. It's like, again, washed away. Yeah, it's a different type of consciousness that takes place, a different awareness, a different living reality that one is within. Okay. Now, if you still need to go and dress up and the clothing, and now when you're on the journey, if you're a sannyasi, whatever, wearing that type of clothing, it maybe helps to keep your consciousness going forward, helps you relate, you know. But when everything dismantles, for why? For why? You know? And some people think they want to judge because you wear makeup and jewelry and this, and well, why not enjoy it? Okay? It doesn't, is it going to change the reality here? Is it going to change any of the wisdom, the reality, you know? No. Okay? No. Okay, so just one relaxes into life and enjoys it. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to leave this here for now. Go get something to eat, make something to eat here, and just kind of chillax for the rest of the day. But yeah, I have to say, I do get so tired of doing the political stuff because it's not the end all and be all of existence. And I see people get so wrapped up in it that they make themselves ill. And this is just such a small segment in the vastness of time, okay? In the vastness of the journey. This is such a small little segment of it. So, yeah. I have to say I get very, very bored with the political stuff. But, you know, continue to read on it if it's what people want. I'd rather be doing more talking with people on a spiritual level on their, helping them, advising them on moving forward things that are beneficial and things that are not. Okay? Because that is really the wisdom from the journey that I walked for 30 years. Okay? And that's the roadmap that I have, more than a roadmap of being engaged in politics, political thing, okay? Because I don't really get into the whole breakdown of the whole political spectrum, okay? I'm not attached to who's running or what's happening in this country, what's happening in that country, and who's in what positions of power. For here, it's, again, not the most important thing in life. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. Love and light. See you online.